they talking real loud, spreading no lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Rock and get us swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In our heart and the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud, spreading no lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Rock and get us swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In our heart and the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud, spreading no lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Rock and get us swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams.
All right. All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay. Hello, DJ Big Six. Byron is in the house. Miss Sheila. All right. Let's get into it, Claudette. All right. Lillian is in the house. Jeff ATL. Okay. My Two Loves. All right. So Boy Broadway. Listen, let me tell you guys something that I noticed. Yesterday, I was thinking, why do all of these people in the chat have these crazy names all of a sudden, these different names? How do I recognize my regulars? Okay. Now, some of you I can tell by your profile pictures, but some of you don't have profile pictures. Hey, Jeff ATL. Mel is in the house. But so what YouTube has now done is they've started using your, I think they've started using your email to identify you within the chat. That's what it looks like. Okay, rather than the username that you initially picked. And this is supposedly to keep people from being able to so easily make false accounts and get in people's chats pretending to be somebody else. Okay, hey, just anticipate. AO God is here. Okay, with that all being said, everybody hit that like button, okay? Nessa G is in the house. We the people. All right, let's get into it, honey. Now, before we get started, hey, Desmond, and shout out to my moderators for putting in work. Okay, so before we get started, let's have a brief word from my sponsor. Hey, Hot Cocoa. Okay, the real truth narrative. Okay, the real truth, not narrative. Okay, so yeah, that's what we need to talk about, the real truth. Okay, please pay attention because a lot of people just tell lies, make them up, and then just push false narratives. We're going to talk about it today. Okay, so hey, Michael. All right, Alberta is here. Okay, so with that all being said, hey, Lorraine, let me go ahead and have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. Okay, here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
That all been said, don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts, and you can also find it at Walmart.com. Okay, so let's get into it, beloveds. Everybody hit that like button if you haven't done so already. And also, don't forget to double check and make sure that you're still subscribed to the channel, because sometimes people mysteriously get unsubscribed. Okay, so please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, first of all, let's talk about Mr. Shannon Sharpe. Okay, let's talk about Shannon Sharpe first of all, because Shannon Sharpe has come out and addressed, his whole firing from ESPN. Now, mind you, I told y'all that he was going to get fired. I told y'all he's going to get fired, okay? He was talking about he's going to take a break and all this and that. After those allegations came out, I knew that was the end of him. Okay, so let's talk about it. He came out and spoke out. I'm going to show you that video in just a second. Hold on. I mean, we pretty much knew that it was coming. Okay, because here's the thing. Disney owns 80% of ESPN, while Hearst owns the other 20%. Okay, so with that all being said, and not to mention ESPN is actually a subsidiary of ABC Inc. All right, with that all being said, which is wholly an owned subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company. Okay, so you think they want that associated with something that caters to children? Absolutely not. It's all inappropriate. Okay. So with that all being said, let's talk about it. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. And I just want you all to think about, Shannon's talking about, oh, they're trying to come after me. I'm a black man. They're trying to bring a black man down and all that. He brought himself down with his nefarious behavior. Let's not forget this isn't the first allegation against him. I reported to you how the woman named Michelle accused him 10 years ago. Okay. Talked about playing in his back door and all that stuff. She did a whole interview with Tasha K. Okay, let's not forget there were supposedly allegations of domestic violence. All right. And I don't have any sympathy or empathy for him because, for one, he said that if you ever see him with a black woman, just know he's holding her for the police. Okay. So I don't have any empathy or sympathy for him. That's what I don't have. Okay, Shannon Sharpe reacts to ESPN firing him days before his brother's Hall of Fame induction. So did you all know that his brother Sterling Sharpe, okay, is about to be inducted into the Hall of Fame? Okay, so Shannon wanted people to wait to speak on his firing from ESPN because he didn't want it to overshadow his brother. Okay, that's his brother right there. Shout out to him. He doesn't seem to be as nefarious as Shannon. Okay, we haven't heard any scandals on him. At least not thus far. Okay, so let's get into it. Shannon Sharpe is no longer working with ESPN, and he's not happy with how they've handled the announcement. Now, earlier this year, Sharpe left ESPN's airwaves after he was accused of assault by an OnlyFans model. Sharpe settled his lawsuit with the model less than 2 weeks ago, but ESPN decided to part ways with a former NFL player who's turned commentator. Okay, they say ESPN has cut ties with NFL Hall of Famer and media analyst Shannon Sharpe less than 2 weeks after he settled a lawsuit in which his ex-girlfriend accused him of rape. Okay, that wasn't his ex-girlfriend, honey. Okay, that wasn't his ex. That girl didn't claim him. All right. So Sharpe has not been on ESPN since late April when the suit was first filed. Now, he said at the time that he could return to ESPN at the beginning of the NFL training camp. I told y'all that was not going to happen. ESPN declined to comment. Now, they say Sharpe took to social media to react to ESPN firing him. According to Sharpe, he's known about the firing for a few days, but had asked ESPN to hold back on announcing it, okay, until next week. after his brother, Sterling Sharpe, was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Shannon, nobody owes you any favors, beloved. Okay, nobody owes you any favors. With that said, I'm going to go to where he spoke out. Like them, everyone, please like and share. I'm going to use an overlay because I don't need any copyright issues and whatnot. So he wanted them to hold off. You know, he should have been thinking about his brother and, in fact, his entire family when he was doing those nefarious things of which he's accused. Okay, please pay attention.
To get started, obviously, I'm sure everybody's heard the news by now that I will not be returning to ESPN. I found out this information a little earlier in the week. And really, the only thing that I really ask is, like, guys, could we wait until Monday? My brother's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I really wanted to be about him, and I wanted to be about my family. I know this coming out will overshadow everything that he's worked his entire life for. And unfortunately, you know, it didn't happen that way. And so as I told him, as I profusely apologized to him earlier today, he said, bro, stop apologizing. You don't have to apologize. I'm your big bro. I'm going to love you regardless. We all make mistakes. And he says, bro, I love you. So I'm done with this. You're done with it too. Move on. And I really enjoyed my time at ESPN. It gave me an opportunity to bring my audience that saw me really just grow. They saw me, you know, Lakers in 5, and they saw me say all these analogies that my grandparents gave me, and I was able to bring that to ESPN. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But I just wished, of all things, like I said, hey, they did what they felt they needed to do, and I'm at peace with that. But I just wish, guys, this thing could have waited until Monday, because I hate the fact that I'm overshadowing my brother, the first two brothers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and this is what the headline's going to be for the next couple of days. So, bro, again, I know you told me this, I don't have to apologize, but I'm going to do it one final time tonight, and I won't apologize again. I'm sorry that I upstaged you in this manner. You know, that was never my intent. You've been my hero. You've been my role model from as long as I can remember. And I apologize, and I thank all my fans for supporting me when I was at ESPN and every place that I've been, be it Club Shay Shay, Nightcap, Undisputed, ESPN. Thank you guys for your support.
Shannon, get on out of here with all that BS, honey. Nobody's trying to hear it. Okay, nobody's trying to hear it. No one cares, sir. We already knew you were going to be fired from ESPN. It didn't take rocket scientists to figure it all out. Okay? Somebody said Skip's having the last laugh. You know he is. Okay, you know he is. Now, Sweet Tea said, more like she's holding him for the police. No, that's right, beloved. Okay, that's what he gets for talking all that trash. Okay, talking about if you see him with a black woman, he's holding her for the police. No, honey, she's holding you for the police, apparently. Okay, you're the one with charges and allegations. All right, well, no charges as of yet. Okay, he needs to sit down somewhere. Nicole said, you're fired, fool. Absolutely. Absolutely. D Major Scaling Up said, why do we act like people of the same skin tone can't screw us over? I trust nobody in general, LOL. Well, you got that right, especially if the person of your skin tone is anything like Shannon. All right, we already know we can't trust those that act like him. So anyway, let's continue. Now, with that all being said, now that I got that out the way, I just had to call Shannon out for being a whole raccoon. That's what I had to do. Let's talk about Trump dump. Okay? Because now, let me tell y'all something. Trump thinks he is so slick. We're not falling for the BS, the banana in the tailpipe. We're not going to do it, Trump. You can't distract us. You can't throw us off your trails. Because we're still on you, buddy. Okay? We're still on you. Okay? So I'm going to give y'all some exclusive information about Trump in just a second. But before I do, and just remember you heard it here first. Let's talk about Trump now seriously considering a pardon for Sean Combs ahead of sentencing. White House officially says nothing. I want y'all to pay attention, honey. Trump needs to sit down somewhere because here's the thing. Diddy didn't even ask him for a pardon. Okay? Diddy didn't even ask Trump for a pardon. I want y'all to pay attention. So why is Trump offering it or considering it? Well, because he wants us to stop talking about Epstein. And I want you all to pay attention because since Trump, it has been reported that he's seriously considering giving Diddy a pardon. Now that's taken over the headlines. And you know what isn't any longer taking off the headlines? Epstein and the files. Okay, so Trump thinks he's slick. at the end of the day, it's not going to work. I'm on to you. Okay. And I still have some information about Epstein Trump. So please sit down somewhere. Okay. Now here's what they say exclusive. Trump is heavily weighing giving Sean Diddy Combs a full presidential pardon ahead of the convicted Bad Boy Records founder's sentencing later this year. Nearly 2 months after Trump publicly entertained the notion of a Diddy pardon in the Oval Office, okay, a comprehensive get out of jail card for Combs is being seriously considered, according to an administration source. Now, additionally, as several associates of the much accused and currently incarcerated All About the Benjamins performer, as they've been pitching, the White House the White House, they say other insiders confirm the topic has leveled up from just another Trump weave to an actionable event since Combs was found partially guilty in the New York trafficking trial earlier this month. Now, of course, as a number of parties attest, this being the roller coaster of Trump world, any decision on a Combs pardon is in flux until the president of the United States actually puts his signature on paper. Okay, so as of now, this is just them talking. And we all know that Diddy made another plea for bail, offering up $50 million. Okay, I reported that to you days ago. Okay, he offered up $50 million, said that he would turn over his passport, that he would put up his mother's $2 million house, the $50 million house in Star Island. Actually, it's $48 million, but nonetheless, and then the $2 million house that his mother has. And then he would turn over his passport and agree to only travel from New York to Miami. Okay, so we've yet to hear back about what the judge has to say about all of it. But like I told you all, if in fact the judge does grant Diddy bail, Diddy's only got 2 more months before he gets his sentence. Okay, he's only got 2 more months. So as far as I'm concerned, he could have just sat there for those 2 months and just had that added on to the rest of his time, because September the 16th will be officially a year that he's been in jail. And the judge has already said that he's going to give Diddy time served. Okay, they've already said Diddy's going to get time served, so that could have just been more time. So even if he doesn't get bail, I don't really think it's a big deal. And if I were him, going back to jail after getting out, okay, yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. So but anyway, that's all up to him. Okay, so with a damning verdict from the U.S. Attorney's Office from the Southern District of New York, delivered by a federal jury, okay, July the 2nd, after an 8-week trafficking trial, Combs escaped the most severe of the criminal charges that he was facing. Even before the mixed verdict came in, Trump claimed May the 30th, when it came to a Diddy pardon, that he would certainly look at the facts. Okay, if I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or not, then he said he would entertain the idea. Now, once big on Trump, Combs became quite critical of him during the Republicans' first term and endorsed Joe Biden in 2020. Now, before that, Trump and Combs had known each other for decades, with the former bluntly calling the latter a good friend in 2012. And you all remember that because I showed you all the video, okay, of him asking Aubrey O'Day when she was on The Apprentice if she liked Diddy and if he was a good guy or whatever. And she said she'd rather not say. She didn't want to say anything because clearly she doesn't think he's a good person. And so Trump was like, I like him. I think he's a real good guy. That's what Trump said. But then Diddy came out and called Trump a racist and then endorsed the Democrats and all of that. Okay, so jumping into the fray after weeks of trolling Combs, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson vowed to stop the pardon. He said, I'm going to reach out so that he knows how I feel about this guy. Okay, and I guess he thought that was going to help when he posted that to social media May the 31st. So weeks later, after hearing harrowing testimony of the rug-fueled freak-off SEX sessions and violence from ex-girlfriends, Jane and a very pregnant Cassie Ventura, as well as ex-staffers, male escorts, and law enforcement, the jury of 4 women and 8 men only convicted Combs on the charges of transportation to engage in prostitution. Okay, and so with that all being said, yeah, 50 Cent said he was going to stop the pardon, but it looks like he didn't stop anything because Trump is still entertaining the idea. And 50 is just mad because his baby mama was all up and through there with a Diddy. Okay, that's why 50 Cent is mad, in my opinion. That's why he's mad. So anyway, but let's continue. So now that we got that out of the way, let's go to this report from Little Miss Tisa Tells that she did yesterday. And thank you all who sent it to me. I appreciate you, because this is going to further reiterate and prove that she's who lies. And in fact, for those of her subscribers who love to claim that people are hating on her, I'm going to show that it's really her who's the hater. Okay, mimicking my own talking points as per usual. Okay, so please pay attention. Now I'm going to share this on the screen. I'm going to use an overlay. All right, I'm going to use an overlay. Now, this is a video that she did yesterday. It says, hope you all can see that. This was done yesterday approximately, because I'm going to show the timestamps, because she said something about timestamps. So I'm going to show the timestamps. Okay. So 14 hours ago, Trump source gives shocking update on Diddy pardon, says bail hearing key factor. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. Durana said Tisa fails again. Yep, she sure does. Okay, so with that all being said, I'm going to use an overlay while you all listen to this.
Sit down and shut the door. We need to talk about what's going on between Diddy and Trump. And we need to talk about the way there seems to be a direct line between Maureen Comey's firing, yes, just saying Maxwell, but also Trump's plans to pardon Diddy. And they are...
Now I want you all to listen right there. I want you all to listen right there. Now you all heard that, right? Now remember, Tisa Tells did this video 14 hours ago. I showed you the timestamp. Now listen to what she just said. She said there's news about Diddy's pardon from Trump. And then she said, yes, Ghislaine Maxwell, but also Diddy. Now who said that first? I wonder. We're going to get into who said that first, but let's keep listening.
Saying that Maureen Comey's biggest fear that she talked about when she was unceremoniously fired, that for decades we have worked without fear or favor, fear of repercussions, and also favor, that we must start bending a knee to to powerful men, to money. Well, in the Department of Justice and the hallmark of American justice, the Southern District of New York, it looks like a new era has been ushered in. And if you believe these reports from the New York Times, the New York Post, Deadline, and also Tisa Tells, because if you've been watching this channel, you know last year I was the first person to report that Diddy was seeking a presidential pardon. You can look at the dates and the timestamps. Literally 6 months before my sources said that that was what they were pursuing, they called me a liar. They said I was making it up. They said I was doing it for clicks and views. But now the Deadline, New York Times, New York Post, and every single media publication has finally caught up with what my sources told us 6 months before this news was even thought of. Yeah, I'm just saying. Okay, fine.
Now I want you all to pay attention to what she said. She said, I told you all 9 months ago that Diddy was seeking a presidential pardon. Okay, so that's a lie. Diddy is not seeking a pardon. Diddy did not ask for a pardon. She literally said that Diddy petitioned for a pardon. That's what you said in the other video. I'll go to that in a second. But let me go to the last part of this video, because the person who she's talking about when she says that, oh, they said I was lying, she's talking about me, because I specifically said she was lying, because I'll be calling her out on her lies, and you all know that I have been calling her out on her lies, as well as her mimicking my talking points. Okay, and so she called me a dummy in this video too, and that's why I'm exposing her again. Okay, for anybody that thinks I'm hating. Okay, she drew first blood is all I'm saying. Okay, she didn't have to say my name. We all know that I'm the one that called her a liar, so she's clearly talking about the queen. Now let's go to the end where she says that I'm a dummy. Hold on.
I have a storage problem.
Does get bail, he'll be pardoned after he's sentencing. This is directly, if it's true, putting your hands with the Department of Justice, putting their hands on the scale, and they are no longer operating without fear or without favor. You guys, please let me know what you think in the comments this story is developing. I do want to say I was the very first to report this story 9 months ago. Look at God's glory. Y'all said I was a liar. Y'all said, not y'all, but the dummies in the back, right? You said, and now look, unfortunately, I wish to God I was wrong. See,
you were wrong, ma'am. She said she wishes to God she was wrong. You were wrong, ma'am. Okay, you were wrong. Not once, not twice, but a myriad of times, which I'm also going to prove right here today. Okay, so I just want you all to pay attention. She said that Diddy was going to be seeking a pardon. That's what she said. Now, why is that important to note? Because Diddy did not ask for a pardon. Okay, now I'm going to prove to you that he didn't ask for a pardon. But first, let's go to her old video that she's talking about she did months ago. Okay, let's go to that video that she did months ago. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Here we go. Now I'm going to let you all see the title of her video. Okay, there's the thumbnail right there. Presidential pardon breakdown, honey. Not a breakdown, Tisa. Go on, girl. Do what you do. Now, let's get into it because here's what she actually said. And tell me if this has happened. She's sitting there patting herself on the back. I noticed that she did a video about Diddy with the title captioned, like he basically was too thrilled about the victory, something like claiming victory too soon. Well, that's what she did. Because, girl, this is not a victory. You did not tell us anything, okay, except lies. Because Diddy didn't ask for a pardon, okay?
hey guys, what's up? Listen, we did an explosive live less than an hour ago about how Diddy is seeking presidential pardon. Now, I know that live was an hour and a lot of y'all don't have time. So we are going to go over Diddy's presidential pardon plans in under 5 minutes. Also, really quick, I am not saying that Diddy has been granted a presidential pardon. My whole premise was he hopes to get one. Now, let's continue. Y'all ready? Let's go. First of all, a lot of people are doubting whether Diddy can get a presidential pardon. He hasn't been convicted. However, if you actually get into what the U.S. Constitution tells the president, that is absolutely false. Any president, Biden or Trump, can pardon Diddy right now. Why is that? Hold on, let's get into that. As you guys see, there is the key points in a presidential pardon, the timing. A person can be granted a pardon at any stage following the commission of a federal offense. The scope, a pardon power applies exclusively to federal crimes. It doesn't extend to state offenses. That means that Diddy will not get out of his civil trial, right? However, a pardon can be granted when the trial is committed, okay? Before charges are pressed, after charges are pressed, before trial, after trial, during trial, while they're in jail. All that matters is the offense is committed. So if I go in there and go crazy in a Dunkin' Donuts, the president, whoever's in power, can pardon me immediately before the police even arrest me, as long as the federal offense. Okay, what is going on? All of Diddy's offenses are actually federal. On top of that, for it to happen, you need a lot of money. Diddy already has $50 million. They are saying he is willing to leverage everything else. You need a president that is willing. Joe Biden is on his way out. Some people say he can't even find the door. There is a new power taking place. When you look at Diddy's connection to the DNC, you see, right? He worked for Ron Burkle. He did Vote or Die. He worked with the Clintons. He has deep Democratic National Convention connections. However, going into the Trump administration, he has connections to Elon Musk, Kim Kardashian, Clive Davis, Ron Burkle. Yes, Ron Burkle. He has connections to Jeff Bezos. Again, we do have to say this. We get caught up in teams, but power will always find a way to collude. It could be Trump. It could be Biden. It doesn't matter. I think it's incredibly naive and dumb to think that Diddy, who has done everything he can to get out of jail, is not petitioning and trying to see if he could wrangle a presidential pardon. Now is the time. He does not have to be convicted, and the president can give pardons at any time as long as they're president. You don't have to wait until the end of a presidency to give pardons. That's what people do traditionally. But if Biden chooses not to grant the pardon, please believe that they will petition Trump. Now, whether the pardon will be actually granted as a two-time.
Okay, guys. So I think we've heard enough. Okay, so you all heard that. She literally said that Diddy petitioned for a pardon because Diddy's desperate. And she said it would be foolish to think, basically, that Diddy, after he's doing all this stuff to try to get out, that he wouldn't ask for a pardon. But here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. Diddy, and she didn't even know if it would be Biden or Trump. She said he would ask for a pardon, maybe Biden, maybe Trump. But here's the truth of the matter. Okay, then I'm going to go to Chat GPT. Okay, here's what it says. And I want you all to pay attention. Okay, she said Diddy was petitioning for a pardon. This is all lies and BS, because here's what it says. It appears that Sean Diddy Combs has not, I repeat, has not formally asked for a presidential pardon himself. So he didn't petition for a pardon. She's lying. If he petitioned for the pardon, where's the paperwork to prove it? She's always showing legal documents. Okay, where's the paperwork? She didn't have any paperwork because he didn't petition for a pardon. It says it appears he has not formally asked for a presidential pardon, but the idea is further under serious discussion at the White House. Okay, so this is nothing more than Trump trying to gaslight us and deflect us to get us off of Epstein talks and to basically act as though that he's going to give Diddy a pardon. And maybe he will, but it's all because he wants us to stop talking about Epstein. Because like I told you guys, now the headlines are covered with Trump. And here's something that just came out 2 hours ago. Let's get into it. This is further proof that Tisa Tales is a liar who lies. White House reportedly in talks with Diddy's legal team about potential pardon. Okay, so that's what ChatGPT said. The White House reached out to them. There's a difference. Diddy never reached out to the White House. They're the ones who reached out to him. Okay, so let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Okay, and then I'm going to call out some more of her lies because she's been lying the whole time. Okay, and I'm here to
Now
prove
to
it.
this, TMZ reports the White House is in communication with Sean Diddy Combs' legal team about a possible pardon.
Yeah, this would be very significant, of course. The decision may hinge on the judge's ruling on bail. According to TMZ, President Trump is more than open to pardoning Diddy, but he wants to wait to see what the judge does with the latest bail petition. TMZ reports if Diddy is granted bail, the president will not make a decision on a pardon until after the sentencing. But if the judge denies bail, a decision will be made immediately.
Okay, so I want y'all to pay attention. I want you all to pay attention. So Trump is just now, the White House is just now reaching out. Okay. They are just now reaching out to Diddy. So please pay attention. Diddy's not asking Trump for anything. Trump's offering it. And why is he offering it? Because he wants to get us off of the Jeffrey Epstein debacle. Okay. That's what he wants to do. But also, hold on, I want you all to pay attention because here's further proof that she copies my talking points. I'm going to go to my video, and I'm the one that said it first and had it absolutely correct. I said that Trump was going to pardon Diddy. I told you all, well, never mind. I don't even have to say it. I'm just going to show the video footage. Okay. All right. Please pay attention. And I said this May the 31st. Okay. Let's go to the timestamp. Okay. 2 weeks ago, I did the video about Maureen Comey being fired. And I mentioned it, but I showed my TikTok video that I did May the 31st. Okay. So you actually heard it here first, Tisa Tales. Okay. You didn't get it right. You said something about a pardon, but you lied on Diddy. That's what you did. Okay. So here's what really is going on. Please pay attention. Let me scroll back. Donald Trump just go ahead and fire her, or did he have the DOJ do it? Now, their authority to prosecute federal crimes comes from this executive power to enforce the law. All right, y'all heard that? Now, here's what I'm thinking. Because I told you all. Mama Joycelyn said, why fire her now? Why fire her now? Clearly, because of Diddy's trial. Okay, let's get into it. Because I told you all, see, some of y'all don't be listening. Hold on, when the queen is cooking. Some of y'all don't be listening when the queen is cooking, but I'm going to play this TikTok that I did about a month or so ago when I told y'all something along the lines about President Trump and Maureen. And Amazing Grace says, Queen, Tisa Tales rides on your coattails for her content. She ain't original. Exactly, beloved. She's always trying to steal credit for things that I absolutely said first, and I actually got right, and she never does. The only time she gets something right is when she steals it from somebody else, mainly me. Okay, please pay attention. But I'm the hater? Oh, no, I think she's the hater. Diddy. Let's get into it in case y'all forgot. Here it is. I'm going to share my screen. Honey, I am jumping for joy. I don't care why Trump fired her. All I know is I'm glad that she's gone. All right? Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur. Now listen, 47 has admitted that he's actually entertaining the idea of possibly giving Sean Diddy Combs a pardon. Now, months ago, when people were saying this, I thought it was absolutely crazy. I didn't think it would happen. And I, in fact, told them, listen, I know they used to be friends back in the day, but Diddy came out and said some things about 47 that I know he hasn't forgotten. And I know that he's one to absolutely hold a grudge, and he likes to get revenge on those who dare to cross him. So I didn't think it would happen. But then as it got closer to Diddy's trial, I started thinking, if there is a reason that he would give Sean Diddy Combs a pardon, well, that would likely be for one reason specifically. And that reason, in my opinion, is James Comey, the former director of the FBI. Now, I know you're probably wondering, what does James Comey, the former director of the FBI, have to do with 47, possibly giving Diddy a pardon? Well, let's talk about that. You see, first of all, 47 and he don't get along. 47 actually fired him. He also criticized him in 2016 about his handling of the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails. And then again in 2017 about the FBI's handling of the possible Russian interference in the U.S.'s 2016 election, which was related to allegations of possible collusion and 47's campaign. Now, and then just about 2 weeks ago, there was a message that Comey posted to his Instagram and then deleted it, which was a message written in the sand with seashells. And it said 8647. Now, we all know what 47 stands for. 86, that basically means get rid of or remove. So, of course, 47 didn't like that. And in fact, he and his team currently have Comey under investigation because they took that as a threat. Please pay attention. Now, I know you're probably thinking at this point, well, that all makes sense, but what does it have to do with Diddy possibly getting a pardon? Well, I'm so glad you asked. You see, out of the 6 prosecutors that are trying to convict Diddy of the RICO, one of them is none other than Maureen Comey. And who exactly is Maureen Comey? Well, that is James Comey's daughter. Okay, James Comey's daughter. Now, this is 47's arch rival. So this is somebody that he doesn't get along with, has had problems with in the past, and currently has under investigation. Okay, so please pay attention. With that being said, Maureen Comey and her team have worked so relentlessly to secure this conviction. And think about the implications of it. Now, if they win this case, this would be big for her career. All of them, because this is literally the trial of the century. Okay, it is very high profile, and we all know that people who work in DA's office, they usually tend to have political aspirations and ambitions. So, with that all being said, just think about her winning this case, big moments of her career, and then 47 just comes around the back door and snatches the thrill of victory right out of her grasp. Okay. Yeah, I think that's absolutely why he's entertaining the idea. And if Diddy is convicted, I think that 47 will absolutely give him that pardon just because he doesn't want Comey to win and he doesn't want Comey's daughter to win. Now, this is just my opinion. I could be absolutely wrong, but then again, I could be absolutely right. Please drop a comment and let me know what you think. All right, there y'all heard it. Remember, you heard it here first. Now, I told you all. And didn't I tell you all days ago she was going to be fired? I want y'all to pay attention. Y'all heard it here first. My intuitiveness is always 100%. Okay? Please pay attention. Yes, I call her ass Bigfoot. Okay? I saw her in the restroom at the trial, And she was tall, you know, she was tall like the Jolly Green Giant as far as I'm concerned, with flats on. All right. And she had big feet. She had big feet is all I'm saying, okay?
You'll be amazed by how a lemon with a twist can dramatically affect the fat burning process of an.
Winter said, hey, Queen, you are on it. Very intelligent insight. Thank you, beloved. Well, y'all know I'm prophetic. Okay, y'all know I have dreams that come true, honey. I predicted many things. Don't forget the video that I did right after New Year's Eve when I told you all my predictions for this year. Okay, so with that all being said, honey, she is out of here. All right, she is out of here. And I find it all so interesting and clearly nefarious. Trump is petty as hell. Now, y'all know Trump did it, and y'all know why he did it. Okay, it had everything to do, I'm sure, with Diddy's trial. Now, they can sit here and act like it had something to do with Epstein, and maybe it did with that too. But definitely, I already knew Trump was not going to let her have the thrill of. Okay, so I think we've all heard enough. Now, with that all being said, Dan Smoda account says Queen be cooking while others steal her recipes. Shaking my head. Okay, don't they though? All right. So sister said, I listen when Queen cooks because all she predicts comes true. Queen is always on point. Thank you, beloved. Okay. I mean, just remember when I did my predictions for New Year's and I predicted there was going to be a serious earthquake in Asia. And then there was an earthquake in Asia, like literally 2 days later. Y'all, please pay attention. Okay. So with that all being said, OG Patrice said, that's right, Queen. Debunk that pathological liar who lies. Shaking my head. Okay, you know I will. Okay, so but hold on. That's not all she's lied about. She's been lying. Okay. Now, like I said, I probably wouldn't even have called her ass out had she not tried to call me a dummy, because I said she was lying then, and I'm saying she's lying now. Because Diddy never petitioned for a pardon. Diddy never asked for a pardon. Trump's only using this to try to get out of the headlines for the Epstein files. That's what that's all about. Okay. I'm the one who said that Maureen Comey was going to be fired, and she was. I'm the one who said that if Trump wanted to give Diddy a pardon, that it would be because he's trying to get back at Maureen Comey. And we know that's what it is, because that's why he fired her. That's why he had her fired. Okay. So Tisa tells, try again, beloved. Okay. Because it ain't working. Okay. It ain't working. But here's something else she lied about. Let's talk about it. Y'all see that? Y'all see that? Decade of lies. That's what it says. Now she said, let me take this off the screen. Now here's some more lies that she told on Diddy. She's been lying on this man the whole time. This is from 7 months ago. Okay. I want you all to pay attention. This is from 7 months ago. She said Diddy and Jay-Z busted for media lies, decades of fake narratives. Finally, first of all, where did that come from? That's a story that she made up. That's a story that she made up. Okay. Please pay attention. All right. Leon says Queen always connecting the dots. Thank you. That's a story that she completely made up. Okay. What lies were Diddy and Jay-Z busted for? She's talking about herself. She's projecting, talking about decades of fake narratives. Yeah, she's the one who paints fake narratives. Here's another one she lied about. 50 Cent blocks the pardon. How could 50 Cent block anything when 50 Cent or Donald Trump has not even issued the pardon yet? Okay. And at the time, he was just saying that he was going to look over the evidence. That was May the 30th when Donald Trump said that. And then May the 31st is when I did the video about Maureen Comey. And that was the same day that 50 Cent posted saying that he was going to talk to Trump and get him to stop. But he didn't. Now, him talking to Trump is one thing, but did he literally block it? No, he didn't. As we can all see, because now Trump's already been talking to Diddy's team. Okay, here's another thing she lied about: cooperating witnesses. She's been wrong the whole damn time. But her people want to sit there and say that we were hating on her, me and Ratchet, when we called her out at the courthouse. No, nobody was hating. We're tired of her lies, okay? Cooperating witness. And who does she have here? This is Christina Coram. Streets are saying Diddy's right hand, KK, is begging for a deal to cooperate. That lady didn't even cooperate. That lady didn't ask for no darn deal. That lady wasn't even included in the trial. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. I want y'all to pay attention. Okay, Nessa G says she's been lying for 2 to 3 years. I used to listen to her. Okay. Alejandro says Tisa clickbaits are so irritating. Thank you. So she sat there and lied about this too. She said KK was cooperating. But hold on, let's not stop there. Let's uncover some more of her damn lies, because she lies a whole lot. Okay, and I'm here to prove it today. Here's another one. She said Diddy was snitching. Legal experts. And I want you all to pay attention because whenever she says the streets are saying my sources, she's lying. Okay? She's lying because, first of all, we all know that the source that she was using previously was Tyrone Blackburn, and that's why he's getting sued for defamation because he's a liar who lies, ran over that process server, got arrested. So much for his credibility. Okay, what kind of lawyer is he? Then she said, Diddy snitching. Legal experts say Diddy's entertaining plea deal. Okay, see, options drying up. Well, that's a lie right there because Diddy never snitched on anybody. And what legal experts told her that? And how would they know if he was entertaining a plea deal? First of all, he never entertained the plea deal. They offered him one twice. They offered him 2 plea deals, one right before the trial started, and he turned them both down. So see how she lied and said that man was snitching? I hope Diddy sues her ass for sitting up here and making up all these darn lies, okay? All these lies. I hope Diddy sues her. Here's another one she lied about. Game over. Diddy's alleged mule cuts deal. Plea terms complete. 100% flipped on Diddy. Diddy's done. Do y'all hear that? Do y'all see the lies, honey? Please pay attention. This is the same man who got on the stand and spoke highly of Diddy and basically helped the darn defense and admitted that the rugs were his, not Diddy's, that he put them in the bag and forgot. So when did he flip on Diddy? Talk about 100%. Like she knows this for, see, she doesn't allegedly say things. This is for facts that she says these stuff complete. 100 flipped. Diddy's done. Well, Diddy ain't done. Diddy's about to get out soon, girl. Sit down somewhere with your lying arms, honey. But they wanted to call me a hater. I'm going to show y'all who's a hater. Please pay attention. And here's another one. Secret crush. Okay, lying on Diddy and Jay-Z saying that Diddy had a secret crush on Jay-Z. Now, if I were Diddy, I would absolutely sue her arse for this one. Diddy's been low-key crushing on Jay-Z for 20 years. We more than friends. Y'all see how she paints these false narratives? Okay, y'all see how she paints the false narratives? Okay, Real Truth said, left my F and A off. We love the clean read, okay? I mean, this is all a mess. Sheila says, Tisa and her clickbait videos just lies. Exactly. Exactly, honey. She needs to sit down somewhere, honey. But hold on, there's more. Okay, there's more. I mean, she lies just about every day, to be honest with you. Okay, Sosa said, Trump has 2 reasons to free Diddy: distract from the Epstein mess and get back at Comey. Exactly, beloved. And y'all heard that here first. But what I want you all to pay attention to, now think back to when I played her video from yesterday. She literally said that Diddy, that Trump's thinking about giving Diddy the pardon because of Diddy's trial and also maybe because of Ghislaine Maxwell or the Epstein files. Isn't that what I said? And I did my video when? 2 weeks ago. So that's my point for telling you all to pay attention when I played that part, because she copied my exact talking points. Okay? She copied my exact talking points. All right. Christopher said it's clearly defamation. Okay? Exactly. So with that all being said, honey, but let's continue. Let's continue because there's more lies coming. Hold on. She said, Diddy snitching. And then decades of lies. No, that's it. I think I just had 7 of them. But let me tell you something. I could have kept going. Okay. Oh, here's another one right here. Here's another one. Dumping assets. Jay-Z scrambles to move assets as Busby's legal storm grows. What? When was Jay-Z moving his assets? Okay. And then sitting up there lying on Diddy and Jay-Z. Honey, I want y'all to pay attention. This girl knows she be lying. Okay. She really just throws stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Okay, I just had to clear that all up because, honey, she's a liar who lies. Okay. Nicole says she needs defamation insurance. Okay. Anita says she be jocking hard. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Sunset Night says, I listen to the Queen 5 to 6 a.m. Cali time. Then I see Tisa a few hours later. It looks like a rerun of Queen show. Thank you, beloved. Somebody had to say it. Thank you, beloved. I'm so glad that you said it because that's exactly what she does. She literally is subscribed to my channel. Okay. Every time I go live, she goes right and sees what I posted and then goes back and regurgitates my same talking points. Okay, whenever you hear her saying something that's factual, 9 times out of 10, she got it from me. And that's just a fact. Okay, now with them lies, she's on her own because I don't sit there and tell no lies. Okay. Mel says she's jealous of you, Queen. I know she is, but see, her little fans want to act like I'm jealous of her. Now, she might be prettier than me and light skin, honey, and all of that. But at the end of the day, she's jealous because of my intellect, because I have prophetic abilities, and because I'm good at connecting the dots and putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and because hashtag, you always hear it here first. She stole that too. I want y'all to pay attention. She stole my darn catchphrase. Hashtag, you heard it here first. Now she's always saying you heard it here first, when in fact you didn't. Okay, Measure Man said, check your email, Queen. Sorry I'm late. You're going to laugh, and we stand 10 toes down. It's active. Okay, thank you, beloved. So with that all being said, honey, this is all a hot arse mess. Now let's get down to the matter of business at hand, because Diddy's attorney, Murk did an interview, and here is what he had to say. I want y'all to pay attention. Hold on. Measure Man, thank you for your donation to the channel, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, I don't see the email. I don't see an email. Can you please send it again? Send it to QueenAhmadiyyahShakur@gmail.com. Okay? Send it to QueenAhmadiyyahShakur@gmail.com. Now, with that all being said, let's get to this. And we're going to talk about Trump, okay? Because I got the scoop on Trump, honey. He needs to sit down somewhere too. That's what he needs to do. I'm going to go to this video where Murk. He said Diddy needs to be free. He said Diddy needs to be out of jail. And he does. He absolutely does. Okay, please pay attention. At the lounge says, Queen, you are beautiful. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you for your kind words. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, listen to this. Hold on. Here we go. Let's get into it. Now, I'm going to put an overlay over this because this is court TV, and I don't have permission to use it. So I'm going to use an overlay and then add a little music. I need to get all my coins from ScrewTube, honey, when I can. At the end of the day, I don't need any copyright claims. Okay, here we go.
Welcome back. We're shining our spotlight this morning on the case against Sean Diddy Combs and his latest push to get out of jail. He's awaiting sentencing on prostitution-related convictions. His lawyers just filed a brand new motion for bond. So what's it mean? I sat down with his lead attorney, Murk, to find out. With me now, Sean Combs' attorney, Murk. Murk, great to be with you. Thank you for being on the program today. And might I just say, I got to see you deliver the closing arguments in the case, and you were an outstanding advocate for Mr. Combs.
Oh, thank you very much. And thanks so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So let's get into this bail package that you have proposed. I read your motion and you talk about the exceptional facts of this case and how the way the Mann Act is being applied is kind of like one of a kind. Would you walk us through what you mean by that, please?
Sure. So the Mann Act was passed in 1910, and it's changed a few times through the years. But really what it's geared at, what it's focused on, is prosecuting people who make money from the business of prostitution. And that's not the allegation against Mr. Combs. The allegation of Mr. Combs, what the jury found, essentially was that he was a user of services provided by sex workers, essentially a John, for lack of a better word. And the Mann Act just historically hasn't been applied to Johns. It's a financial statute. It's really been applied at people who look to make money from prostitution. And so since that's not how it's being applied here, we made the argument that we have to, under the case law and the statutes in this area, that this is an exceptional reason and that Mr. Combs should be considered for release on bail because of it.
Murk, I read in your motion, you say that Mr. Combs may very well be the only John sitting in a jail right now for his crimes. What makes you say that?
So we've done a nationwide survey.
Now, let me pause it right there because listen, guys, I told you all, didn't I tell you all that at the end of the day, Kyla Avery says, start copywriting those catchphrases too. Exactly, beloved. Thank you. You are absolutely right. Okay. You are absolutely right. Deronda said the queen and her character is beautiful as well. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you for your kind words. Peace, love, and blessings. Nicole sends a super sticker. Thank you, beloved, for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, I want you all to pay attention because Murk Agnifilo is talking about Diddy being one of the only Johns prosecuted for the Mann Act. Because remember, I told you all this several times, and I explained to you specifically a case where, a very popular case from 2008, where the former governor of New York, Eliot Spitzer, was involved in the Emperor's Club. Okay, you all remember that? And he was the John. He was going there to procure the services of these prostitutes. And these people were running a prostitution ring. The people that were running the ring, they all got hit with the Mann Act charges, but they did not charge. They elected not to charge Governor Spitzer with a Mann Act violation because he was a John. And so the fact that they charged Diddy with it, okay, is all BS and rooted in racism. Just like I told you all. Just like I told you all. Okay, Mel says, right, Queen, I remember that. Okay, so now we have Murk Agnifilo saying the exact same thing.
Of Mann Act cases. And we're not all the way finished, but we've looked at probably close to 100 cases. And we don't see any other case where a John, the user of prostitution services, is being prosecuted under the Mann Act. There are instances where the user of prostitution services has some kind of connection with the arranger, the organizer, the people who make the money from the prostitution services. But in terms of just being a straight user of services provided by a sex worker, we think he might be the only person in the country.
They said he might be the only person in the country. Leon says, you called it, Queen. Thank you. Here's the thing. I told you all the case. I gave you all the case. The case of Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson was not running a prostitution ring or anything like that. They accused him of violating the Mann Act. And in fact, they created it for him specifically because they were sick and tired of him dating these white women, okay? So with that all being said, we know that it's rooted in racism, like I told you all a myriad of times. But here's the thing. They got Jack Johnson when he was with a woman that he ended up marrying. Okay, they said she used to be a former prostitute. Her name is Belle Schreiber. Okay, that was her name, Belle Schreiber. So when they got him, he was a John. So that's the only case that I found that was exactly like Diddy's, other than the one with Eliot Spitzer. But again, Eliot Spitzer was never even charged for it. Jack Johnson was. What does that tell you, you guys? It tells you that they will absolutely prosecute a black man, Jack Johnson, Diddy, for being a John, for paying for the services of prostitutes. But when it's somebody like Governor Spitzer, who doesn't look like them, they chose not to charge him for it. So the only case, and I don't know if Murk Agnifilo's just not thinking about this, or he's just not using that case because it's too old. Maybe he's trying to look for a current case. But at the end of the day, the only case is Jack Johnson. Okay? Jack Johnson got sentenced to a year and a day. Hold on. Let me just pull that back up for any of you who missed it. Okay, here it is right here. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Well, actually, I'm not going to share the screen because I have the video on there. Okay, but here's what it says. You can look this up yourself. It says Jack Johnson, the first African-American world heavyweight boxing champion, was prosecuted under the Mann Act in 1913. He was convicted of transporting a white woman, Belle Schreiber, a known prostitute, across state lines. This prosecution is widely seen as racially motivated, which is why Trump pardoned him. And here's the thing too. Now, when you think about it, Trump also is likely wants to pardon Diddy because it's the Mann Act. Because Trump clearly thinks it's racist. Okay, even though we could say he is too, but I'm just saying Trump is the one who pardoned Jack Johnson. Obama wouldn't even do it. They asked Obama to do it in 2009 and he wouldn't do it. Trump did it in 2018. Okay, so she was a known prostitute. He transported her across the state lines. Now, this prosecution is widely seen as racially motivated. fueled by public outrage over Johnson's relationships with white women and his defiance of social norms. Okay, so that is a case like Diddy's. Okay, that is a case like Diddy's. And why? Because they're saying that she was a prostitute. And so he's the one that transported her for services for himself. So they're saying that he was the John. Do you all see how this is all adding up? Okay, and then Just Anticipate said, wasn't Chuck Berry too? Yes, that's another case. Now, Chuck Berry's was more extensive because he took somebody who was underage. And even though he did that, he still didn't get like a lot of time. I think he got like, I forget what Chuck Berry exactly got, but yeah, thank you for bringing that up because I did tell you all about Chuck Berry. I forgot. That's another case that I absolutely told you all about. Chuck Berry's sentence under federal, under the Mann Act. Okay. Berry was arrested in December of 1959 for transporting Janice Escalante, a 14-year-old girl, across state lines for the purposes of working at his club. He was convicted in March of 1960 and sentenced to 5 years in prison. However, he also had other issues, including legal battles related to his business or whatever. Okay, so he was sentenced to 5 years, but I think that his sentence, his sentence got reduced. Okay, his sentence got reduced because they took it back to court. Hold on. Let me just double check so I'm giving accurate details here. Yes, it's accurate to say that Chuck Berry's conviction for violating the Mann Act was reduced. Okay, he was initially sentenced to 5 years in prison, but the conviction was later reduced to a lesser charge, resulting in a shorter prison sentence. Specifically, he was initially found guilty of violating the Mann Act, which prohibits transporting the individuals across state lines for immoral purposes. After the initial conviction, the sentence was reduced. Okay, so they reduced it. They reduced it from 5 years. So the point is, remember, the judge told both the defense and the prosecution to bring forward cases that were similar to Diddy's, and so the judge can balance how he wants to sentence him. So by the fact that the prosecution hasn't found any cases, Murk said they've looked over 100 cases. They've reviewed 100 cases. I'm telling you, I've reviewed at least 30 cases myself. And at the end of the day, the only ones that I found were those two with Chuck Berry and Jack Johnson. Okay. And Jack Johnson got a year and a day. Okay. And then Chuck Berry, they don't say specifically how much he got, but they reduced it from the 5 years. Okay. So please pay attention. So I just think that when Diddy goes to get sentenced in October, they're just going to let him go home on time served. Okay. They're just going to let him go home on time served because he shouldn't even be in jail for that anyway, because the Mann Act, they don't prosecute these white men when they're Johns for it. Okay, they did that to Diddy and Jack Johnson. Okay, so with that all being said, now let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please like it. Now let's talk about Trump, honey. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Let me finish this video first. Now, once again, this is Murk, Diddy's attorney.
I certainly see what you're saying and can appreciate the legal argument you put forth in your motion for bail for Mr. Combs, Murk. And even if the judge agrees, let's say the judge agrees that this is an exceptional application of the Mann Act, and your client may be the only one who's jailed right now. You've cited every other case you can find. It's an ROR type bond situation. What about the other component that we know the judge is very concerned about, and that is your client's propensity for violence? Even you yourself acknowledge that in the closing arguments of the case with what happened to Cassie on the video that the world saw, and in the instances with Jane. How can you reconcile your position now in this motion for bail that he should be free and is not a danger to the public when we know these instances happened in the past?
So I think the key thing with what you said is that it happened in the past. I mean, the only instance that we have in recent memory was one, and the trial evidence showed this, where Jane essentially, started a fight with Mr. Combs, smashed his head against the counter, threw glasses at him. Jealousy was always a feature of their.
Now, let me speak about this, because Nasty Grace, okay, she's a liar too. Okay, she's a liar too. That's why her and Tisa get along so well. Okay, because Nasty Grace was lying herself yesterday. She's sitting up there saying that Diddy blamed it on the women and saying that they provoked him. Diddy didn't say a damn thing. That's what Diddy's attorney said. There is a difference. That's what Diddy's attorney said when they made their plea to the judge for him to get bail again. That's what they said. But Nasty Grace wants to sit there and say, oh, Diddy's so violent and he's trying to blame it on the women. He said the women provoked him. Okay, she's always lying. Okay, Measure Man said, yes, she blocked me from the chat, etc. Okay, Big Dog said, speaking of Tisa, her lawsuit on the way? Okay, I wouldn't be surprised, honey. I would not be surprised. She needs to have one coming soon to a theater near you.
Relationship, and Jane was jealous of his relationship with another woman, and so that was about 14 months ago that happened. But
oh, and let me answer this question. Flawed Beautifully says, Queen, what's the quirky rock and roller named? Married to a 12 or 13-year-old girl. He was always playing the piano. Oh, beloved, I talked about him too a few weeks ago. That was Jerry Lee Lewis. He married his own 13-year-old cousin when he was 23. They didn't hit him with a man act because I'm sure she traveled with him. Okay, so please pay attention at the end of the day. That's who that was, Jerry Lee Lewis, beloved. Okay, so honey, this is all a hot mess, but let's continue.
Other than that, everything dates back, a number of years, 2018 and before. And as we made the point we made in the bail application as well is, Mr. Combs is seeking counseling, was seeking counseling for domestic violence before he was arrested. He was attending a program here in New York, and we really wish that he could have stayed in that program, but the federal government arrested him and then he was in jail and he couldn't continue with this very outstanding program, which I believe he'll come back to if he's released. And that's really, I started my career in the Manhattan DA's office, and I would see, all manner of domestic violence, and it's a very difficult crime for everyone involved. It's difficult, obviously, for the victim who has to live in fear from one of the people in her lives that she's the closest to or he's the closest to. But what I saw in the DA's office is that these were not resulting in lengthy prison sentences. These were resulting in appropriate, treatment programs, self-awareness, therapy, things like that. And I think this is what Mr. Combs needs rather than an extended time in prison.
Mark, my understanding is that Jane wrote him a letter to get into the batterers program before he was arrested for the instant case. Is that correct?
So they were in the process of writing a letter. So what happened with Mr. Combs, and this is because of his notoriety, and I think this is really unfortunate, is that I tried very hard to get him into a batterers program in April, April and May, before he got arrested. And I think because of his notoriety, a lot of these programs didn't want to take him. And so I think what was happening around the time of the incident that was testified to at the trial is that Jane was in fact helping him write a letter to get into one of these programs. And at the end of the day, he didn't get into the program that I think the letter was directed to, but we got him to another program, and he did start, therapy and counseling in that program, and did that for several weeks before he was arrested. So that's what your question is. The answer is yes, that is true.
And thank you for that, Mark. Is he availing himself of any programs now in the jail?
So the MDC doesn't have the programming that some other jails do because it's not a final holding facility. It's really for people who are in a pretrial posture. So it's by its nature somewhat transient. So, other prisons where people go to serve their sentences have much better programming. And so the programming at the MDC is not really that well established. That being said, we've cobbled together therapists and people who go in and speak with Mr. Combs, and he is availing himself of that.
When we come back after this break, we're going to turn our attention to sentencing. Currently, the date is set for October 3rd. Remember, Diddy was acquitted of the crime of racketeering conspiracy, acquitted of the sex trafficking.
It's unreal. Let me show
Mark, I want to talk to you about sentencing, please. Have your expectations with the federal government changed at all with Maureen Comey being let go from her position?
No, I thought Maureen Comey was an outstanding lawyer and is an outstanding lawyer, and I think will go on to have a terrific career regardless of where she is. I think it's a loss to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and it's unfortunate, in my view, what happened to her personally. I got to know her and all the members of the government trial team pretty well during the trial, and I have a great deal of respect for all of them, including Ms. Comey. But no, that's an outstanding office. The Southern District of New York has a deep bench, as they say. They're very good lawyers in the office and on this trial team. So I don't think the presentation of evidence or arguments will suffer, even though Maureen left.
Mark, it seems like your team and the government are just miles apart on what kind of a sentence would be appropriate for Mr. Combs. What is your greatest hope, your most ideal hope for sentence for him?
So my hope, obviously, is that he gets out as soon as possible. We filed a bail application this morning, and my hope, obviously, is that the judge sees the wisdom in that and agrees with us. The government will oppose it, and the government will oppose it for reasons that they believe are sound. Now, in terms of sentencing, we believe that a sentence along the lines of time served is more than sufficient. If you look at what Johns are sentenced to, even if they're prosecuted in the first case in this country, no one's doing close to the time that Mr. Combs has done in jail. So I think we have to treat like cases alike, and I think he should be released in short order.
Mark, what are his hopes for his life? Because at some point this will all be said and done. We don't know what exactly the sentence will be that the court imposes, but after that.
Hold on, you guys. Yeah, I want you all to pay attention. Hold on. Okay, I want you all to pay attention. So she basically asked him what's next for Diddy. Is he going to return to music? He said he doesn't know. He doesn't think Diddy's thought that far ahead. That Diddy basically has said to him, and he can repeat it because Diddy gave him permission to. He says that Diddy said that he feels like he has more to give. Okay, so look for Diddy to probably try to do some sort of community work or something, trying to do something for a foundation or something like that, probably from what he's saying. Another thing that I thought was interesting about that discussion she had with Mr. Agnifilo was the fact that he said that the jail doesn't have any really good programs for people that are on illegal substances or who have been battering people or whatever. And that's because it's basically a holding place before you go to prison. So they do have extensive programs for that type of thing in prison that people can sign up for. But remember, we heard weeks ago, basically, that Diddy was involved in, working on his behavior and the illegal substances or whatever. But now Mark explains it by saying that they have people coming to see him. So he's being counseled. So this is not necessarily something that the jail is giving, some sort of program he signed up for in jail, but basically his attorneys have counselors coming to speak with him while he's in jail to help him get on the right path or whatever. And also to make it better for him when he goes for sentencing October the 3rd. Okay, which I think that he's absolutely going to be coming home when he goes for sentencing, because they can't make it make sense if they don't, because where are these trials or where are these cases where anyone has served a hefty amount of time for being a John? And I want you all to pay attention to something else too, because Tisa tells, let's go back for a second about her lies. Okay, so when she's telling all these lies, she says that Diddy's going to get a pardon, that he's begging for a pardon. He's petitioning for a pardon. But then she said he was snitching and entertaining a plea deal. If you're entertaining a plea deal, okay, and you're snitching, why would you be snitching if you're entertaining a pardon, if you petition for a pardon? Okay, so see, that's how the lies don't even make sense. Okay, please pay attention to this. Sitting up there saying that man had a crush on Jay-Z for 20 years. Where the hell did she get that from? Oh, that's right, out of her ass, clearly. Okay, I just want y'all to pay attention, honey. The lies have to stop. Nicole says Nancy and Tisa be at happy hour cooking up lies under the influence. Not under the influence, okay? This is all a whole hot mess. But now let's get into the main event. Let's talk about it because this is exclusive information and you heard it here first. Let's talk about Trump. Trump, Lord have mercy. Okay. Here we go. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, this man came out and exposed Trump for trying to get talking to Epstein about murking his wife. Okay. Please pay attention. I'm going to share my screen. Honey, this is all nefarious. Trump, you just do the most. And this is why he's sitting up here. You know, all this stuff keeps coming out about Epstein. Okay. We keep finding out more and more information. Who was it that told me weeks ago when I was talking about this stuff coming out on Trump? And they basically told me, Queen, I know you're smarter than that. Queen, now, you know, if they already had that information about Trump and Epstein, they would have used it to keep him from becoming president. What? Honey, they still let him become the president. Okay, that's what they did. Now, this man right here spills all the tea. Please pay attention.
This is a grim story, and all trigger warnings ought to apply. CNN has uncovered video of Jeffrey Epstein at Donald Trump's 1993 wedding to Marla Maples. I have a backstory about that because Epstein and Trump at this period, the closest of friends, and when Marla Maples came to Donald Trump and said she was pregnant, he panicked and he went to his friend Epstein and said, what am I going to do? She says she's pregnant and she's going to have the baby. I'm going to have to marry her. I mean, I think it's important to note how much these guys lived in another time. I mean, this is a conversation that could have taken place. Such conversations did take place in the 1950s. And Epstein said, continuing this in the 1950s vein, she's lying to you. She's just trying to get you to marry her. And then they went through a long discussion about how he could figure out if this was a lie. But in fact, he ultimately went to the doctor with Marla Maples, and indeed she was pregnant, putting him into a bigger panic. And he went back to Epstein and says, now what do I do? And Trump said, what if I pushed her down the stairs? And Epstein said, well, you could murder her and then you would go to jail. Or perhaps even worse, nothing would happen, but you would have pushed her down the stairs, and when the divorce happens, that would be something she could testify to in court. As I said, grim. And just let me add that one of Donald Trump's main political tropes is always the American flag, to such an extent that it is as though he owns the American flag. So let's just take it back.
Okay, so you all heard that, honey. You all heard that. That man said Donald Trump was talking about murking somebody, honey, and talking to Jeffrey Epstein about it. Now, that's how you know they were best friends, because who would you talk to about murder? Okay, besides your bestie. Okay, who else would you trust with said information? Don't y'all find that nefarious? And that man by the name, his name is Michael Wolff. Okay, just remember you heard that here first. And here's the thing that I find interesting about it, because let's go a bit further. Let's go just a bit further. So he talked about knocking her down the stairs. Hold on. Now, he talked about knocking that woman down the stairs. But watch this. Watch this. See, I told y'all, honey, I be putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Please pay attention. We over here on this channel connecting the dots.
Of Ivana Trump, former President Trump's first wife and the mother of their three oldest children, Don Jr., Ivanka, and Eric. She helped build the Trump empire, and after their very public divorce, she kept the family name. We have learned she was found unresponsive in her Manhattan apartment at the bottom of the stairs. Paramedics responding to an emergency call. It was her.
Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? She was found at the bottom of the stairs. Didn't that man just tell us that Trump spoke to Jeffrey Epstein about knocking his other wife down the stairs? Y'all heard that? He talked to Jeffrey Epstein about knocking his wife down the stairs. And then, you mean to tell me Ivana Trump died by falling down the stairs? I didn't even know that. See, until I went digging. I want y'all to pay attention on the hashtag. You heard it here first. We talk about truth and facts and receipts on this channel, not lies and false narratives.
Her ex-husband, the former president, who announced her death on social media. Ivana Trump was Czech-born and a model when she met and then married Donald Trump. They were a force on the New York City scene in the 1980s. Tonight, son Eric Trump releasing this photo of the family when the children were young. And then decades later, Ivana Trump with her adult children and their spouses. The very bruised relationship with her ex-husband eventually became a friendship again. In fact, Ivana Trump said there were talks of offering her an ambassadorship during the Trump administration, and what she said about that idea. Amy Robach, who interviewed Ivana Trump not so long ago on the passing of Ivana Trump.
She helped her husband build an empire well before he won the White House. And tonight, the former president and his children mourning Ivana Trump. The NYPD responding to a 911 call shortly after noon from her apartment on Manhattan's Upper East Side. The 73-year-old was found at the bottom of the stairs, unconscious and unresponsive. She was pronounced dead on the scene. Her ex-husband announcing her death on social media. I am very saddened to inform all of those that loved her, of which there are many, that Ivana Trump has passed away at her home in New York City. He said she was a wonderful, beautiful, and amazing woman who led a great and inspirational life. Her pride and joy were her three children, Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric. She was so proud of them, as we were all so proud of her. Rest in peace, Ivana. Eric Trump seen tonight leaving his mother's home.
It's been a very sad day, guys. Very sad day.
Earlier, he posted this picture and a statement from the family. Our mother was an incredible woman, a force in business, a world-class athlete, a radiant beauty, and caring mother and friend. Ivana Trump was a survivor. She fled from communism and embraced this country. She taught her children about grit and toughness, compassion, and determination. Ivana Trump met her future husband in 1976. She was a model, he a budding mogul. The next year, they were married.
Look and the brain and the energy and the really potentials, Donald always had a great head on his shoulder. And I saw the potential, really.
She's a very nice woman, a very nice person. She's a friend. She's a lot of things.
Together, they were the ultimate 80s power couple, crafting an image of glamour and excess, coupled with business savvy. She had a nickname for him, and it stuck, the Donald.
As a boss, you have to be a leader, and you have to say what you want. You have to tell them, you have to motivate them.
But it didn't last, and just as the tabloids documented their marriage, they ran with their divorce. And Ivana Trump becoming known for something else, her grit and resilience.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. I think we've heard just about enough, okay? I think we have heard just about enough. So Trump, I'm not saying Trump had anything to do with this woman's death, but I find it all interesting that he talked to Jeffrey Epstein about knocking his wife down the stairs. And Jeffrey Epstein said, well, you could kill her and go to prison. Okay? And then his ex-wife is found dead at the bottom of the stairs. I mean, it just could be a coincidence, but I don't know about coincidences, honey, but please pay attention. Now, let's talk about Diddy some more, because here's the thing. I almost forgot to tell you all, because I have so many receipts today, that in fact, Diddy's team filed a motion for an acquittal or retrial over the prostitution-related charges. Okay? Now, why is this important? Well, I'm so glad you asked. The reason this is important because it further proves that Tisha Tales is a whole liar when she said that Diddy pretty much, when she said that Diddy was petitioning for a pardon. Okay, Diddy doesn't need to petition for a pardon. Okay, that's what he doesn't need to do. All right, please pay attention. He doesn't need to petition for a pardon because at the end of the day, they already were asking for an acquittal. All right, let's go to the court documents because I have them. Okay, nothing but receipts over here on this channel. Please pay attention. Okay, I'm going to show you all the documents. I'm not going to go through them. I'm just going to read a brief summary of it. Okay. I'm just going to read a brief summary of it because at the end of the day, it's like 62 pages, honey. Okay. Murk was not playing when he wrote this all up. And see, I'm just telling you, why would they be doing all of this if they were so sure, you know, that they were begging for a pardon? Okay. Please pay attention. Y'all see this? This was filed yesterday, July the 30th. Okay. This is one of 62 pages. Memorandum of law in support of defendant Sean Combs' renewed motion for judgment of acquittal or the alternate new trial. Okay. So anyway, with that all been said, I'm going to read a couple of pages from here. But we're definitely not going through this whole thing. Okay, so here's what they say. Here are some of the points they made that I think is important to note. To our knowledge, Mr. Combs is the only person ever convicted of violating the statute of conduct or for anything like this. It is undisputed that he had no commercial motive and that all involved were adults. The men chose to travel and engage in the activity voluntarily. The verdict confirms the women were not vulnerable or exploited or trafficked or sexually assaulted during the freak-offs or hotel nights. And Mr. Combs had never had sex with the supposed prostitutes. Okay. We are aware of no other case in which a person was convicted under 18 USC statute 242, 2421A, even though he made no money from the prostitution, didn't have sex with the alleged prostitutes, and didn't arrange the transportation with the intent of committing sexual assault as trafficking or an X crime involving a minor. Hold on. Let me just tell you all something. You know what I just thought about? Actually, there is no case like Diddy's. There is absolutely no case like Diddy's. Jack Johnson and Chuck Berry, their case isn't even like Diddy's. Now that I think about it, here's why. Because with their cases, they were taking people across the state lines for sex. Okay. Now, so they were Johns, but the thing is this: Diddy took the prostitutes across the state lines, but it wasn't for sex. He never had sex with them. The women did. Okay, the women did. So that's why their cases are not even like Diddy's. Now, when you really think about it, their cases are not like Diddy's. Deronda said Queen be putting a puzzle together and then framing it. Okay, so yeah, so that really is, they're not even similar to Diddy's because both of them were having relations with the people they took across the state lines, and Diddy was not. So that's why Murk can't find anything, and that's why the prosecution can't find a darn thing. I want y'all to pay attention. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. This is called critical thinking skills at work. So anyway, with that all being said, goes on to say that he didn't have sex with the alleged prostitutes and didn't arrange the transportation with the intent of committing sexual assault as trafficking or an S crime involving a minor. Indeed, under longstanding Department of Justice policy, Mann Act charges are not filed in similar circumstances. See, they don't even file them. Okay, they just did this to Diddy just to be doing it. Now, in short, this conviction stands alone, but it should not stand alone. First application of the Mann Act in these circumstances is unprecedented. And remember, here's the thing. This is why I told you out in the beginning that it was unprecedented. If they had convicted Diddy on all of those counts, that it would have been set a precedent. Okay, and then they just be locking people up left and right, people who look like Diddy, okay, and saying, oh, you got a RICO because you've been trafficking because you sent an Instagram model and flew her out and all of that. Now you guilty of the Mann Act too. Okay, see, this is what I was telling y'all. Okay, so anyway, with that all been said, First application of the Mann Act in the circumstances is unprecedented. Construing to reach Mr. Combs' conduct would raise serious fair notice and discriminatory effort concerns, Judge Subramanian. You wouldn't want it to look as though you're discriminating against this black man, would you, sir? Well, of course he doesn't. Okay? So now with that all being said, prostitution is not defined in the statute and is normally up to states and localities to regulate and define prostitution or not. The term has had multiple different meanings over time and depending on the jurisdiction. And in the 2000s, multiple state courts have held that paying for voyeurism to watch other people have sex is not prostitution. Hello, they got no case. Okay, so they want a retrial, honey, or a full-on acquittal. Honey, Diddy don't need no pardon. Okay. The lack of statutory definition, the changing and inconsistent ordinary meaning of the term, and the fact most states where the sexual activity occurred do not treat this conduct as prostitution. Okay, that creates a classic trap for the unwary, requiring a narrow interpretation that would not sweep in Mr. Combs' conduct. The statute should apply only to defendants with a commercial motive in the prostitution, or if it can apply to consumers of prostitution, should not cover consumers who do not have sex with adult prostitutes. Such a limiting construction is also required to avoid other serious constitutional problems of substantive due process, the First Amendment, and federalism. Mr. Combs, at most, paid to engage in voyeurism as part of a swinger's lifestyle. That does not constitute prostitution under a properly limited definition of the statutory terms. Honey, this is why Diddy got the best lawyers that money could buy. Okay, that's what he got. Second, even if prostitution includes a defendant who pays to observe two other people have sex with each other, the evidence was insufficient to show that Mr. Combs had any such intent. The proof at trial showed that he typically hired the services of male escorts or dancers, advertised openly through lawful businesses, that the men were paid for their time, and that they enjoyed the activities and had friendships with Miss Ventura and Jane, and were not merely traveling to have sex for money. Third, if the statute is interpreted to cover Mr. Combs' conduct, his conviction must be reversed because it violates the First Amendment. The freak-offs and hotel nights were performances that he or his girlfriends typically videotaped so they could watch them later. In other words, he was producing amateur pornography for later private viewing. This is protected under the First Amendment conduct under the First Amendment. Conduct that no substantial government interest justifies prohibiting, since the films depict adults voluntarily engaging in consensual activity. And I want you all to pay attention to why that's all important. Okay, I want you all to pay attention to why that's important. The reason that all is important, because if what Diddy did is criminal, then so is what the corn industry does. Okay, so is what the corn industry. Lisa says, shalom at the original Queen Ahmadiyyah. Love you, sis. And I love you right back, beloved. Thank you so much for your kind words and for your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. I appreciate you. So I want y'all to pay attention, okay? At the end of the day, isn't it all so interesting? Isn't this all so interesting? So the math is not mathing. This is not making any sense. They can't find one single case. And you know what that proves? That proves that it's racial bias. Okay, Diddy never should have been charged with the Mann Act violations because he was not having sex with those men. And in fact, they voluntarily went, and Cassie and Jane were messing with them behind Diddy's back anyway. They had whole relationships with these men, according to the S workers. Okay. So I want you all to pay attention, because he's going to likely give Diddy an acquittal, which means he won't need that pardon that Trump's offering, okay, or that Trump's considering offering. He hasn't said definitely. Okay, so please pay attention. Now, here's what they say. In other words, he was producing amateur pornography. Okay, and isn't that what they do in the corn industry? They videotape people having relations. So if Diddy's guilty of the Mann Act, so are the people who make corn. All right, so are the people who make corn. Make it make sense. Now, this is protected First Amendment conduct. Now, the fourth thing they point out is if the court declines to grant an acquittal, a new trial is required under Rule 33 due to severe spillover prejudice from rims of inflammatory evidence. This evidence, particularly the intercontinental footage, was admissible only because of the RICO and S trafficking charges. Didn't I tell y'all that? Didn't I tell y'all that? What did I say? You heard it here first. Didn't I tell you guys that the video should never have been allowed in its evidence because it was prejudicial, that the prosecution only wanted to use it to paint Diddy as a monster, even if he is one? That's what they wanted to paint him as, and hoping that people would just find him guilty because they saw the video, not that because he actually committed a RICO or S trafficking, because the prosecution knew they didn't have a strong case. They knew that they couldn't win unless they either got Jane Doe to flip. And the reason they needed her to flip is because Cassie's S trafficking allegations were more than 5 years old. Diddy stopped talking to her in 2018. That's like 7 years ago. Okay. And they needed the case to be closer. Okay. It had to be less than 5 years ago for it to be used or for them to charge him for it. And that's why they wanted to get him with a RICO, because if they got the RICO, then they can go back and dig up old things. Okay, and then use that against him. But they didn't prove the RICO. But just in case, or by the fact that they wanted to use Cassie's story and show that video, so they had to get Jane Doe to flip so they could use her case. Because remember, she started dating Diddy around 2021. So that was less than 5 years ago, because she was still dating Diddy up until he got arrested. Okay, so they absolutely had a predicate charge with her for the S trafficking. And so now, once they see they can file a RICO charge against him, now they can go back and use the old stuff like the arson, okay, the alleged arson against Kid Cudi, which was in 2011. They can go back and use Cassie, okay? They can use the Intercontinental video, which was from 2010 or 2012, one of those. So this is why they were doing all of this. I want you all to pay attention. They knew they really had no case and nothing to stand on. That's why we kept hearing about baby oil and Astroglide. And that's why they tried to tie, and I told you all this months ago, you heard it here first. That's why I told you all they tried to tie the video of Diddy beating Cassie. They tried to tie that to the S trafficking and say, oh, he dragged her back to a freak off. And that's another thing Tisa Tells lied about. She literally just said that. I think she said it yesterday in that video, but she definitely said that recently. And here's the thing. How you know that she's a liar who lies? Because she was at the court with us. She was literally in court with me. Okay. And she knows that it was proven. That's why Diddy got acquitted. She knows it was proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Diddy did not drag Cassie back for a freak off in that Intercontinental video. In fact, Cassie left with the security officer. She left with the security officer. Diddy didn't drag her back to the hotel and make her have a freak off. But see, that's how you know she's such a liar. And then she'll keep telling people, oh, I was in the court. I was in the court. You were in the court, but you still told a bunch of lies. Like I told you all, she was at the court, but not in the court. Because most days she would go right outside and start doing a live while we're in court listening to what's going on. And we're like, how is she out there doing a whole live and she doesn't even know what's going on in here? Because she was telling lies. That's how. Okay, so please pay attention. Okay, please pay attention, honey. This is all so crazy. Now, with that all being said, let's continue. So they go on to say that the evidence, particularly the Intercontinental footage, was admissible only because of the RICO and S trafficking charges. Just like I told you all months ago, it would never have been admitted at a trial solely on the Mann Act counts, as it was irrelevant and fairly prejudicial. Like I told you all months ago that it was prejudicial. Okay, under the Second Circuit's retroactive misjoinder doctrine, a new trial limited to evidence admissible to prove the Mann Act charges is warranted. Okay, Sean Combs sits in jail based on evidence that he paid adult male escorts and entertainers who engaged in consensual S acts with his former girlfriends, which he videotaped and later watched with girlfriends. This is not prostitution, and if it is, his conviction is unconstitutional. The court should grant an acquittal or at absolute minimum, a new trial on the Mann Act counts alone. Do y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that? I want y'all to pay attention. I want y'all to pay attention. This is all so crazy. I find it all so interesting, honey. At the end of the day, you know they say a lie doesn't care who tells it, and that's the truth. Okay, that's the truth. A lie doesn't care who tells it. Please pay attention. All right. Miss AP says, I'm sick of all liars. Need we say names? We will. Okay. This is all crazy. Measure Man says she thought she couldn't afford a good wig. Imagine after these cases. And this is all crazy. Okay. And so anyway, with that all being said, Measure Man says, I do know who needs to hear this. Stop sending cease and desist in our IG DMs. LOL. Okay. Thank you, beloved, for your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. I appreciate you. Okay, so anyway, that all being said, this is so interesting. They're trying to get Diddy up out of there, and guess what? Diddy's gonna get the hell up out of there. Okay, another lie that Tisa Tales told, and she said Diddy was gonna get 20 years. He's gonna get 10 years for each count. That's not gonna happen. I already broke that down, and for those of you who missed it, let me just tell you again. The reason Diddy's not gonna get 10 years for each of those cases of the Mann Act violation is because of what I just read to you for number one, but for number two, I told you and I showed you the receipts that the only time the judge who goes by the sentencing guidelines in federal cases, and also it's up to the judge's discretion as well. But the only time a judge has given the maximum, which is 10 years, or even gone over it, because a judge in 2022 gave somebody, Pastor Sharpe, gave him 12 years, 144 months. The only time the judge does that is if the person is a repeat offender, which Diddy is not, or if they were doing these things with minors, taking them across the state lines, and which Diddy was not. So I just want you all to pay attention. That's why they can't find a case that's similar to Diddy's, because there is none, which further shows and proves what I said, that it was racially biased. Okay, that it was racially biased. And I can't get down with racism. Okay, I don't care if I like Diddy or not. What I can never do is get down with racism. Okay, because if they'll do it to Diddy, they'll do it to anybody else. And we've seen them do it a myriad of times to people who look like us. Okay, OG Patrice said Pinocchio can't stop and won't stop lying. Exactly. We the people said you shouldn't go to jail for jerking your own chicken while an ex-worker bangs your girlfriend. I know that's right, honey. Please pay attention. Okay, please pay attention. Now, one more thing to go over before I'm out of here. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. But isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting, you all, that Trump talked to Epstein about Murk and his wife, and then his ex-wife is found, and he talks about pushing her down the stairs, literally, and then the ex-wife is found at the foot of the stairs? Yeah, I find that all interesting, Trump. What you got to say about that? You see why Trump wants to hurry up and stop talking about Epstein, and let's move on and let's talk about me giving Diddy this pardon. Honey, Diddy doesn't need a pardon for you, Trump, and nor did he ask for one, okay? Nor did he ask for one. And so with that all being said, but hold on, because the family, first of all, there's two more things we got to talk about. The family of the victims, the family of abuse survivor, urged Trump not to grant a pardon to Ghislaine Maxwell. And by the way, Ghislaine Maxwell had the nerve to come out with a list of demands. I want you all to pay attention. I mean, the nerve of her. She's a whole trafficker. And she's sitting up here trying to make demands to the government. And you know, like I said, if Trump gives her a pardon, it's definitely going to be some pushback on that. I know people are going to be upset about it. Because the bottom line is, in my opinion, it would only be because he wants her to keep quiet about anything that he had to do with it, okay? Please pay attention. And so here we go. Here it is right here. And this is Virginia Giuffre's family. This is what they had to say. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. And remember that you heard it here first. I literally told you all the other day that Trump said that Jeffrey Epstein stole Virginia, said he stole some of his employees. Remember? And I said he must be talking about Virginia Giuffre because she was working for Trump when she was 16. And then she met Ghislaine Maxwell, who trafficked her or took her to Jeffrey Epstein for her to be trafficked. So that's who he had to be talking about. And now that Trump came out and said that, like you literally admitted it, Trump. And I told you all, when he's using words like steal, Jeffrey stole his employee. So what does that mean? When you steal somebody and then we find out later that you trafficked them, that's S trafficking. So Trump, you just admitted that you knew that Jeffrey Epstein was S trafficking. Okay, because you're talking about him stealing people. Okay, somebody said it was slavery. Well, slavery and sex trafficking is the same thing. That's why they call some cases of the Mann Act violations white slavery. Okay? So I want y'all to pay attention. Now I'm going to go to this video because the family is pretty much begging Trump not to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, and which he absolutely shouldn't. This woman is a whole convicted sex trafficker.
Switch to Tide Free and Gentle. It cleans better and doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
And it's gentle on her skin.
Tide Free and Gentle Liquid is EPA Safer Choice certified.
It's got to be Tide.
New fiery fallout this morning from the family of one of Jeffrey Epstein's most vocal accusers, Virginia Giuffre, who worked at Mar-a-Lago decades ago and died by suicide in April. In a statement released overnight, Giuffre's family saying it was shocking to hear the president invoke their sister in his comments Tuesday on Air Force One, with the president saying Epstein stole Giuffre from his Mar-a-Lago club years ago.
He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know. None whatsoever.
In a statement, the Giuffre family says it makes us ask if he was aware of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's criminal actions, adding, "We and the public are asking for answers. Survivors deserve this." The White House press secretary telling NBC News President Trump was directly responding to a question posed by a reporter about Ms. Giuffre. He did not bring her up. This week, the president also describing a dispute he says he had with Epstein related to Mar-a-Lago workers.
No, he took people that worked for me, and I told him don't do it anymore, and he did it. And I said, stay the hell out of here.
President Trump has denied any knowledge of wrongdoing by Epstein, a friend of his in the 90s before their falling out. The convicted sex offender died by suicide in prison in 2019, but his accomplice and former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, is still behind bars. Last week, spending 9 hours being interviewed by the number 2 at the Justice Department, who was also the president's former personal attorney. Giuffre said she was a teenager when Maxwell recruited her, something she described to Savannah in a 2019 Dateline interview.
In her mind, I believe she doesn't think that what she did was wrong. That's the kind of evil monster she is.
Giuffre's family now saying the government and the president should never consider giving Maxwell any leniency. President Trump has said he hadn't thought about a pardon for Maxwell, but notably, he hasn't ruled one out.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon, but nobody's approached me with it.
The Giuffre family says anything less than Maxwell remaining in prison would go down in history, their words, as being one of the highest travesties of justice. Maxwell's lawyer said last week there have been no asks for clemency, but that she would welcome any relief. Although a senior administration official tells NBC News no leniency is being given or discussed. Savannah?
Y'all hear that? At the end of the day, rest in peace to Virginia Giuffre. Okay. So with that all being said, now let's talk about Ghislaine Maxwell making these demands here that I find also interesting, honey. Who does she think she is? So Maxwell offers to testify before Congress, but with major conditions, including immunity. Now, we know that she was already given a proper immunity for speaking with the DOJ, last week. So Jeffrey Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell has offered to testify before Congress, but with major conditions, including immunity, according to a list of her demands that were sent to the House Oversight Committee by her attorneys. Now, House Oversight Chair James Comer subpoenaed Maxwell to testify next month. Now, in a new letter sent to Comer Tuesday, Maxwell's attorney said they initially decided to invoke her Fifth Amendment rights, but then offered to cooperate with Congress if a fair and safe path forward can be established. Well, we already know what that means. She wants a pardon. So her attorneys noted Maxwell is currently appealing her conviction to the Supreme Court and argued that any testimony she provides now could compromise her constitutional rights, prejudice her legal claims, and potentially taint a future jury pool. Now, let me tell y'all what Trump's trying to do. Let me tell y'all what Trump's trying to do here, because I see it all right there. The writing is on the wall. Trump is talking about giving Diddy a pardon so nobody says anything when he gives Ghislaine Maxwell a pardon. Are y'all listening? Are y'all listening? Let me say that again. Trump is sitting here entertaining giving Diddy a pardon, talking about he's seriously considering it for first of all, for us to get our minds off of Jeffrey Epstein and for us to stop talking about him possibly giving Ghislaine Maxwell a pardon, but at the same time, likely offering Diddy a pardon, considering it anyway, so that that can be his excuse for why he gave Ghislaine Maxwell one. Or so that Diddy's pardon, if he grants one, would overshadow Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay? So that would overshadow Ghislaine Maxwell because Diddy didn't ask him for no darn pardon. If Diddy asked him for a pardon and petitioned for it, where's the paperwork? Okay, Tisa Tales with your lying self. And if Diddy had asked him for a pardon, why is his team filing for an acquittal or a retrial? See how that makes no sense? Okay, please pay attention and learn to realize when people are telling lies. Realize, okay, that real lies are being told. That's all I'm saying. Now, with that all being said, compounding these concerns are public comments from members of Congress that appear to have prejudged Ms. Maxwell's credibility without even listening to what she has to say or evaluating the extensive documentation that corroborates it. That's what the letter states. Well, first of all, honey, we already know she's a liar who lies because she already has been accused of perjury. And she also claims that she didn't have anything to do with the S trafficking. Okay, so there's that. Now, an oversight committee spokesperson or spokeswoman on Tuesday rejected the idea of giving Maxwell immunity. They say the oversight committee will respond to Ms. Maxwell's attorney soon, but it will not consider granting congressional immunity for her testimony, according to the spokeswoman. I don't think there are many Republicans that want to give immunity to someone who has been S trafficking little people. Okay? So Maxwell's conditions as laid out by her attorney include: number one, a grant of formal immunity. Number two, the interview can't happen at the correctional facility where she's serving her life sentence. And three, to prepare adequately for any congressional deposition and to ensure accuracy and fairness. We would require the committee's questions in advance. Surprise questions would be both inappropriate and unproductive. Okay, because they need to know what she's going to have to lie about ahead of time, if you ask me. Okay, they want to know what the questions are. Well, if she's telling the truth, should it matter what the questions are? Well, you know, but if you're going to make up some lies, okay, or embellish the story or put up some half-truths, well, then you would definitely want to know what the questions are in advance so you don't get thrown off. Okay, please pay attention. Now, the interview should be scheduled. This is a fourth thing. The interview would be scheduled only after the resolution of her Supreme Court petition and her forthcoming habeas petition. Okay? And when somebody files habeas corpus, that basically means that they're being held for no good reason. Okay? That it's against their rights that they're being held. So that's what she's trying to say. Please sit down somewhere, lady. You're being held because you're a whole criminal and a crook and a trafficker. And she needs to stay in prison for the rest of her life, as far as I'm concerned. Interesting, they gave her 20 years and wanted to give Diddy life. And Diddy wasn't even trafficking, okay, or having sex with prostitutes. Isn't that something? But anyway, I digress. Top House Oversight Democrat Representative Robert Garcia told CNN on Tuesday that Maxwell is not going to set whatever terms that she wants. Like, girl, you don't get to call the shots. How dare you? You're a whole S trafficker working with the biggest S trafficker that we've heard of in the United States. Okay, Jeffrey Epstein, to be exact. Okay, with the whole cover-up going on, so we can't get that client list. And you think you're going to make demands? Who does she think she is, honey? Sounds like she's been hanging out with Trump too long because she thinks she's a mob boss now. So goes on to say, we do not support giving her the questions ahead of time either. That's right. You don't need to get the questions ahead of time. Like I said, if you're telling the truth, what difference does it matter when you get the questions? But liars need to know in advance so they can put their lies together and try to make it all make sense. Now, it's likely the Supreme Court will not act on Maxwell's petition until October, when the justices are scheduled to return from a summer break. Her attorney said that if her demands cannot be met, Maxwell will have no choice but to invoke her Fifth Amendment rights. Notably, the letter ended with a final appeal to President Donald Trump for clemency. They say, of course, in the alternative, if Ms. Maxwell were to receive clemency, she would be willing and eager to testify openly and honestly in public before Congress in Washington, D.C. She welcomes the opportunity to share the truth and to dispel the many misconceptions and misstatements that have plagued this case from the beginning, according to her attorneys. Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? Ghislaine Maxwell is just a liar who lies, honey. I don't think that we need to listen to anything she has to say because it's not going to benefit us. It's only going to serve to benefit her because all she's going to do is say that she wants to give them the information, okay, so that she can get a pardon. All right? And then Measure Man says, so you gonna tell the truth now? Exactly. Why should they trust her to tell the truth about anything? She's been lying all this time, and she's gonna continue to lie. Okay, and that's all pathological liars do. All right, so I want you all to pay attention. This is all a hot mess. With that all being said, I'm out of here. I am out of here. I hope you all enjoyed the broadcast. Okay, I hope you all enjoyed the broadcast. Purple X said she needs to remain behind those bars, whether she complies or not. Exactly. Okay, Mel said Ghislaine Maxwell is a poisonous snake. She sure is. She absolutely is. Okay. So listen, with that all being said, listen, I love you all to life. Okay, and I'm going to tell y'all something. I am coming back today. Now, I know yesterday I told you all I was coming back, but at the end of the day, time went by so quick. I was like, oh my God, it's 6 o'clock already. And so I was doing some work on something, but I'm going to come back today because we got to address something. Okay, and if you all missed anybody that missed the video that I did yesterday about Black Americans, basically boycotting the Africans August the 1st, please go back and check that out. Okay, I think it was pretty interesting. And I actually wish that I had dropped the link to let some of y'all come up, but I forgot all about that because somebody named Reparations Perspective did ask me if I would let them come up, and I completely forgot all about that. And the video was kind of long anyway, so maybe I'll do that today. I don't know, but at the end of the day, I will be back later, you guys. Okay, Nessa G said it was really good. Thank you. Okay, so anyway, I love you all to life. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, peace.
Hey, yo, Nick, hit him with that flavor. Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. That's See right. A bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people are waking, they ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got